What it is, y'all, it's your old boy Pilk, and, okay, before we get into chapter 24, let me just throw this little warning out here, okay? Number one, this is a heavy chapter. Something huge happens here. If you want to get any big plot points or anything like that organically when Season 2 drops, this is probably a chapter to skip, though I do think this is so massive. This is probably something that they're going to revisit time and time again going forward. If you guys haven't subscribed, it's a great time to. The series is going to get insane from here. So, when we finished off chapter 23, it's your last warning. We're just jumping in. When we finished off chapter 23, we know that these evil guys haven't really given themselves a name, but we find out here that they are a group. Or we kind of knew that anyway, but we find out that they have unleashed a bunch of monsters, high-level monsters on the surface world. And now this is currently happening in the dungeon. Finn, who we met recently, he's like, time to stop playing tag. You're the ones who made the Mage Slayers. Are you not? And old boy's like, it's too late. Typical evil villain. Ha-ha, it's too late. Ha-ha. And essentially he reveals that their job was to get Finn and his group into the dungeon. And basically Finn now knows all hell is breaking loose upstairs. And this monster that pops out, everyone starts looking at this thing and they're trying to figure out. Will has been just absolutely just annihilated by it. Well, not annihilated, but he was knocked through a building. He is down for what it matters. And as this thing is just unleashing havoc on the town and just continually just beating on Will, he's like, this thing is even stronger than the Grand Duke. And you find out here that Claire is up here like, that's a Devander. What is a Devander? A Devander is a monster from the 40th floor. Remember, they had problems with the Grand Duke on floor 11. Granted, I don't think the Grand Duke was supposed to be much, much lower than that, but still doesn't matter. Floor 11 was already a threat. The Grand Duke was insane. This thing is infamous for slaughtering not one, but multiple Magiavander. So therefore it's called the Devander. Makes sense, right? That's a problem. That's a problem. And these guys mentioned, they're like, we lost 50 of our group. 50 dudes trying to get this thing through the gate. And he's like, now it can run wild all at once. And boy, does it. It's going crazy. It's attacking everyone. You see it just about. The thing is, funny enough, I think this is Sion's guys, the ones that are just constantly in danger. They're just like the butt of the joke at this point. And the Devander comes down with the Mage Slayer, and Will jumps in the fray, holds up his sword, and just manages to stave off the attack. Absolutely insane. He's like, get the hell out. So obviously they run. As soon as they're done being just literally wetting themselves and afraid for their lives. And the Devander once again just kicks Will into the next county. And then jumps behind him and then does the usual, just plays with him like a hacky sack. It's just kicking him all around. This thing is insane. Completely insane. Essentially an unstoppable force. And then we see Donovan, the dwarf from the, if you remember way back into, oh, good grief, what chapter was that? And it was in the teens. It was a while ago. Basically, the dwarf from the tavern, he comes out, and he actually manages to, stave this thing off for a bit. But remember, this is, this thing has killed Magiavander. This thing is a threat. And they're like, we're going to chop this to pieces. You're probably not going to do that. Let's be fair. And all this is happening. Everyone just forget what you're doing. Converge on this point. And as soon as everyone is now, gathering around the Devander, the worst goes to worst. It gets somehow it gets worser is not a word, but it just definitely counts. It should be applicable to this situation because they're like, we've got him surrounded, or they've got him surrounded just like we planned. And the little core of this thing pops out and just starts absorbing everything around. Now, the core is, essentially, this goes back to, like, more Danmachi type of lore, where the core is what you need to hit to defeat the monster. It's kind of a trope, like, it's the weak spot, whatever. I don't think they've mentioned it in the series before, but it just makes sense. It's just the monster's weak spot. The core pops out, and they're like, what the hell is happening? And you see all the other monsters, even the felled monsters that are laying around town, start getting absorbed. And Edward's just like, OMFG, it's a trap. Get the hell out. But it is too late. Too late. I love that. I love Headless. I'm sorry. He is like the rare situation where you just want to like a villain. Even though he is absolutely ruthless and terrible, he's just an enjoyable villain because he's so quirky. But all the monsters kind of like, converge and they all get absorbed. And this thing kind of basically pops off and is like, well, okay, our villains here are just like taunting them. They're like, the real monster is about to be born. How the Devander wasn't the real monster blows my mind. But the core absorbs all of them, and then this thing pops out. And this thing looks... If something could look evil, this thing looks evil. Absolutely insane. And it just lets out these, like, blasts of energy. And, yeah, he's like, your magic won't work, and the dwarf's brute strength can't do anything to it. And Will's like, all those monsters were just pawns. They literally used our counterattack against us to make the strongest thing we've ever seen even stronger. Let's take that and put that in perspective. They were already like, we need everything we've got to take out the Devander. The Devander was like, level 2, baby. Like, this isn't even my final form. Yeah, they are all absolutely screwed. And you just see like blood splatter and things going everywhere, and just, it is insane. They're like, obviously their goal here is to kill the Magiavander. That's what they want to do. That will lower the barrier that they literally just put back up, and then chaos will reign. And that's their whole goal. And Rosty is in the fray, because Rosty's always like just off camera. And Rosty's like, Will, your sword, and unleashes a magic spell. Remember, Will can harness magical energy with his sword. Will's able to essentially use the magic, the wand and the sword, like he did to beat the Grand Duke. And Rosty's like, get it. And I don't know what you would call it, the Devander times 2, the full power Devander, I don't know, comes out of nowhere and is just like, I don't think so. Wham! And just cleaves Rosty's arm straight off. And let me say right now, this isn't even the end of the chapter. This keeps going. So Rosty's arm is gone. Will's losing it. The Devander times 2, or whatever the heck you want to call it, is just going ham, like unleashing everything it's got. Will escapes to the top of a building, and this thing's just like, nah, bro, you mine. And is like, just, crazy. Crazy. And the whole time Rosty's bleeding out, and he's like, Kiki, go find Colette. I'll make sure Will's safe. And Rosty stands up, and this is the first time I think we've seen Rosty be like actually serious and aggressive. I know what I have to do. No amount of rage is going to win this fight. No amount of calm or collected thinking will come up with an effective strategy. And this is another big clue as to what Rosty's whole situation is. And, yeah. I love the phrasing here. None of that means anything against the cold, hard reality. And this, down this lower cell, this thing is just pummeling Will in the background. Throws him into another building, and even Will starts to kind of doubt himself and is like, no, a no talent like me can't do anything. This thing's about to just finish him off. And you see, there's his glasses, there's the sword. He's like clearly flying off into the distance. Did this thing just cut him in two? Nah. So this is the tough moment where it's like we may never, ever, 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 ever get an explanation with what Rosty actually is about. Rosty could forever be an enigma. Now, we have a pretty damn good idea. But Rosty is run clean the hell through. The Mage Slayer is just, doing its job. I'm gonna go on a limb. I'm just gonna say that don't look good. I don't think. I think they're gonna need more than a nap in the infirmary to. Rosty is not gonna make it out of this, and Will flips. Will loses it. Continued on in Volume 7. So on Sunday, we will pick this up with Volume 7, Chapter 25. If you think Rosty makes it, comment down below. We've seen some situations that looked grim, but I don't have the highest hopes. See you guys on Sunday for more.